What Donald Trump just posted is deeply disturbing, and it's exactly why no one should ever take conservatives seriously. These people do not act in good faith. They don't actually believe the things they say, and nearly everything that comes out of a Republican's mouth is driven by political motivation. That was made painfully clear by Donald Trump once again. This is one of the most disgusting posts he has ever made, especially considering it came after a Democrat lost their life. We're going to break it all down, but before we do, I want to quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy the channel, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us continue calling out the blatant lies Republicans push every single day. And one of the biggest lies they keep repeating is the idea that Democrats are responsible for creating a culture where political violence is acceptable, that the left somehow provokes it through rhetoric. Donald Trump completely exposed that lie tonight with his post. It's a narrative that J.D. Vance has been aggressively pushing, and that context matters when looking at what Trump just posted on Truth Social.
And they said that immigration enforcement, you know what they said? That immigration enforcement had detained a 5-year-old autistic girl in order to get to that girl's father. Turned out that story was a complete fabrication. It was a complete dishonest lie. But when you go around and lie about our law enforcement and you tell them that they're mistreating 5-year-old girls, what do you think is going to happen? When Democratic politicians incur doxing, when they encourage us to unmask ICE enforcement officers, what do you think is going to happen? When the mayor of Los Angeles encourages violent protesters to get in the face of our law enforcement, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is political violence, and political violence has gotten out of control in this country. We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we've got to do it. And while we're all mourning and rooting for and praying for everybody who was injured at that ICE facility, and as far as we know, it looks like some of the detainees, in other words, some of the potential illegal aliens, were some of those who were affected. Look, just because we don't support illegal aliens, we don't want them to be executed by violent assassins engaged in political violence either. So we're praying both for our ICE agents, but also for everybody who's affected by this terrible attack. But that was an ICE facility. And as these guys behind me know, and a few of our police officers know, police officers writ large face too many threats.
I have said this too many times at this point. I just repeating myself, but I have to. J.D. Vance was the one who said that Donald Trump would be America's Hitler, and he was right about that one thing. You were bang on J.D., but this idea that Democrats pointing out what Republicans want to do, pointing out the ways in which it will hurt people, diagnosing the problems that they're causing is some inflammatory rhetoric rather than a real reading of the situation that we are in this political moment in which Republicans do want to hurt people, do want to cast out anyone who looks different from them from society. That is pure and blatant insanity. That is what it is from Republicans. This idea that they can hide behind a fear of the rhetoric of the left. When we say Donald Trump wants to do the things that Donald Trump wants to do, the man said he wanted to be a dictator. We repeated that. J.D. Vance said he'd be America's Hitler. We repeated that. I think we were right about both things. The only person who has ever directed real political violence, who has encouraged it, is Donald Trump. This was just a month and a half ago when Democrats like Jason Crow were getting these messages. Congressman Jason Crow wrote after he spoke out against Donald Trump and called for service members to disobey illegal orders. Trump called for my arrest, prosecution, and execution. Almost immediately, the threats exploded against me and my office. All Americans must condemn this political violence. Listen to some of the actual threats we've received. Now, I'm not going to play that video because it is disturbing, and I think you understand the point without me having to make it with this gross collection of people who feel empowered by the most powerful person on the planet, telling them to go after his political enemies. Donald Trump, it's very important to remember what the beginning of this term was, because it's really colored everything that's happened since and shows why Donald Trump's administration is falling apart right now. And that is because Donald Trump wrote a blank check to MAGA. He said, if you commit political violence on my behalf, if you attack anyone who opposes me like those rears did on January 6th, I'll sign off. I'll say go for it. I will keep you protected. If you are in the Epstein files and you'll hush-hush on my behalf, I won't release them. Remember, Donald Trump isn't just protecting himself. He's protecting everyone else. But what does this have to do with political violence? Political violence that Donald Trump encourages. Political violence that J.D. Vance, Carolyn Leavitt, Pam Bandy, Kash Patel say is coming from the left. Well, Donald Trump had the opportunity on the day that Charlie Kirk was killed. Someone who, by the way, encouraged political violence against people of color to broadly condemn it all. Something that is plaguing our country. He did not. What Donald Trump wanted to focus on was his own political gain, and it ran in stark contrast to when a Democratic lawmaker had their life taken, Melissa Hortman. Donald Trump had this to say about her, and it's been a while since he's addressed it, but Donald Trump is now posting about Melissa Hortman again. And it's disturbing, but listen to what he had to say.
Mr. President, I want Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right.
Do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
Now, for God knows why, Midas Touch is reporting that Donald Trump is now reposting videos on Truth Social suggesting that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had Melissa Hortman assassinated. This is objectively evil, and calling it out should be not political. Objectively evil doesn't even begin to describe this. This woman had her life taken from her, and Donald Trump couldn't even bring himself to acknowledge it. Instead, all he said was, "I don't really know who that is. I don't know what you're talking about. Can we move on?" What he clearly wanted was to exploit the death of Charlie Kirk instead, and it's ironic. Because on that very day, I caught a lot of backlash from people when I said that no one should be murdered in public, unlike Charlie Kirk, who openly advocated for public executions. Charlie Kirk was a bad person, and I don't feel sympathy for him. I don't feel anything about him. I also said that his wife is a terrible person who chose to marry a bigot, someone who spent years directing hatred and cruelty toward trans people, women of color, and people of color in general. A lot of people told me, "Jack, she's a widow. She's grieving. Don't say anything about her." But here's the thing. I don't need to spend time patting myself on the back, but I was right then, just like I'm right now. These people do not act in good faith. They are not grounded in reality. And what's fascinating is that MAGA has always accused us of being detached from reality. They'd say the left lives in ivory towers, that we're Hollywood elites or coastal elites who don't understand real America. They'd claim we don't know small-town America, the real America. Say anything critical of real America, and suddenly you're not a patriot. Meanwhile, Donald Trump posts videos fantasizing about violence in American cities like New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Chicago, calling them trash, calling them hellholes, and that's apparently fine. But we were the ones accused of being detached. Look at Erica Kirk parading around, behaving in ways that make it clear she's completely removed from reality. You know who isn't detached from reality? The family of Melissa Hortman, who are still grieving while the President of the United States exploits her death to rally his base. Donald Trump is sitting in the White House right now, talking to who knows who, maybe Stephen Miller, maybe Susie Wiles, while Pete Hegseth is probably drunk and passed out because it's a Saturday. And Trump's thinking, they keep talking about these pedophiles I hang out with. How do we get this off my back? And the answer he lands on is attack a dead woman. Do not let my anger or sarcasm distract you from the point. These people should never be taken seriously, ever. When they ask you to feel sympathy, when they ask you to believe them, remember this. We're constantly told not to sink to their level, to go high when they go low. But here's what I've learned. The real muck isn't mocking them. The muck is believing them. Getting in the muck with MAGA isn't calling out the farce of their performative mourning or their merch-selling hypocrisy. The muck is pretending bipartisanship still exists for its own sake. I do not care if politicians across the aisle have beers together. I don't care if they're friendly behind closed doors. I don't want unity theater with people whose morals are fundamentally opposed to human dignity. This post was disgusting, and I'm done pretending we can operate within this fake, polite political framework with Republicans. They show us who they are over and over again. Believe them. Do not believe they care about you. Do not believe they are honest. Do not believe they respect you. And do not believe the politicians who keep insisting compromise is right around the corner. So many elected leaders are blinded by their desire to be liked by people who don't see us as human beings, just tools to be used. That's how Donald Trump viewed Melissa Hortman. That's how Republicans view people like her. And those are not people who deserve to be taken seriously. That was a rant. I know it was long. I've barely slept. I've been traveling. I'm exhausted. But we're back, and we're not stopping. If you made it to the end, I genuinely appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel, hit subscribe, leave a like, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.